right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order, 6:31.
Miss Jennifer Haggerty.
Here.
Miss Laura Kretecki. Miss Dana Endres. Mr. James Preston.
Here.
Miss Judy Stazak.
Present.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Oh, guys.
Okay. Church bells just now. All right. So I need a motion to approve the minutes from the regular Board of Ed meeting that we had on September 14th, 2022.
Motion.
Second.
Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any items C through F? No communications, board or added considerations or assignments. All right, thank you. So we will move on to reports. Welcome, Mark. And I think our first presentation is going to be from a group of students, so this is great. Did you guys want to come forward and do their presentation? All right.
I don't know. I feel like that's so short.
I'm so old. Senior lounge is small.
You got it already?
Yeah, Mike, you're old too.
Sunshine Hall.
I do.
Well talking or you just representing? You were these tall. I just got the advancing for you.
Okay. Today, we're here on behalf of the senior class to discuss why we feel that we should have a senior lounge.
Can you tell me your names?
I'm Emma Moore.
And I'm Angelica Slingerland.
Go ahead. How about everybody?
Yeah.
I'm Nick Mexian.
I'm Abigail Dunlevy.
I'm Alexandra Dunlevy.
And I'm Jessica Slingerland.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Why do we want a senior lounge? The senior lounge would be an excellent place for us to have a quiet space to work, a possible place to eat lunch, a comfortable spot to decompress with our friends and classmates during study halls. It would be a distraction-free environment, which is ideal for seniors to get their assignments completed.
Are we aware of the consequences? We are aware that maintaining a room like this comes with great responsibility, and we will be sure to keep the room clean and organized. We will ensure that the lounge is a safe school environment where smoking and other inappropriate actions are reported immediately. Seniors will be making sure that underclassmen don't disrupt or come into the lounge. If seniors are not able to follow the rules that have been set, Mr. Pitt and Mr. Martinelli have the ability to shut it down temporarily. We will regain the privilege, if revoked, after seniors have learned their lesson and regained trust.
Where will the lounge be? We are proposing that the senior lounge will be in room H102. The room is unoccupied and has nothing but desks in it. If the room poses as a safety concern, it should be known that there is a camera inside. This classroom is in the high school wing, so it will be no trouble getting to class on time.
What will we do to maintain this privilege? Students will be sure to get to class on time. If this becomes a problem, the lounge privilege will be revoked. Staff and administrators are welcome to check on the seniors at any time. Students will keep the room clean and will pick up after themselves. If a spill or mess occurs, we will notify a teacher or janitor. In addition, at the end of the day, a couple of seniors will be assigned to ensure the room is clean and picked up. We will keep a sign-off sheet on the door so you can know what seniors were in the room and at what times. Seniors will have a signed pass from their teachers or their honor card to show that they have permission to be in the room.
What will we do to maintain this privilege? Once a student is signed in to go to the senior lounge, that is where they will stay. We will ensure no one is wandering the halls. If someone does need to leave the lounge, it must be for a legitimate reason, like the bathroom, nurse, or seeking help from a teacher. Cell phone usage will be policed in the room. Pictures, videos, phone calls, loud music, and FaceTime will be prohibited. We will monitor our voices and show respect for the students around us. Dress code will continue to be policed in the lounge. Hoods, hats, and anything that covers someone's identity will not be allowed.
What else? The lounge will allow seniors to consult one another and get to know each other better. There's no better place to quietly get work done, play a board game together, discuss senior plans such as fundraisers and meetings, or work on group projects. The lounge is also an incredible spot for seniors with early dismissal to stay if they have a practice or meeting of some sort after school.
Thank you. We know that with great privilege comes great responsibility. We are excited to have our own spot and to set a good example for the underclassmen who will eventually take over the room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who did the presentation? Who put the presentation together?
The senior class.
The whole class?
Yeah, we all contributed.
Okay. Did Mr. Pinella help you with all of these ideas
No.
and rules? You
He
came up
just
with your
he
own
suggested a couple
rules?
things, but
suggested a
it was our
couple.
heavy lifting.
So they
Nicely
presented to me,
done.
Mr. Martinelli
I
did a
like
great
it.
job. We wanted to have him come present to the board.
Very nice.
And if I remember correctly, we did have a senior lounge a few years
Yeah.
ago.
We did.
And then hence COVID and we haven't.
Yeah.
You use the word "we" a lot. So do you feel like the whole student senior class is behind you when you say "we," or are you two going to have to do all that policing?
It's the
All
whole class.
6 of you.
It's the whole class.
Okay, all right. Just don't want to put that on one person's or a few people's shoulders.
How was your soccer game?
Practice today.
Practice? Oh, okay.
Game tomorrow.
Game tomorrow. Who are you playing?
Kicksaki.
Oh, good.
You guys did a great job.
Great advocacy.
Great advocacy, and I hope that the rest of your class can respect these responsibilities and you don't lose it based on just a few. So, congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Good pose.
Are we making a motion?
Good job, guys. Yeah.
Got it.
Remember that also little, now they're not also
Okay.
Tom's gonna get some company, sorry.
Thank you guys. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
You all don't want to stay and talk about the budget?
We have the senior lounge, the budget.
So we're gonna hear from our general auditor, Ken.
Hi, folks. Back again this year. I had sent out a little summary, as I do in the past. As I've said to you guys in the past, the financial statements are almost 80 pages long, and we don't obviously have that kind of time to go through the 80 pages. You are welcome to at your leisure, and if you have any questions, please ask me. But what I tried to do is put a summary together, a relatively quick summary, and go over what I see as the highlights in the past year, just to bring those to your attention. I also think it's important that, there's a lot of stuff here, and it's pretty detailed, and it's very much, an accountant's basis of things, and it's a little confusing. But if you have this during the year also, or review this later on, you might be able to, to see some of the trends that have gone on and say that either makes sense or doesn't make sense, and ask Megan or myself. The first thing is these financial statements are what we call in accordance with GASB 34, and what that means is they have a number of components. First, management's discussion and analysis, then our auditor's report, and it should be noted that our auditor's report is just that. The only thing that we have here that's ours is the auditor's report. The rest of the financial statements are actually management's and the board's financial statements. Just not moving too quickly from that, but our auditor's report is an unqualified or a clean opinion, which is obviously what you want to see. There's no exceptions to the fact that we believe that these financial statements are fairly stated and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And then that's when it gets confusing, because there's basically 2 sets of financial statements in here. So, if we were the IRS, you'd be saying we're keeping a second set of books, and that's exactly what we're doing. There's one set that's full accrual, and there's one set that's basically just current assets and current liabilities. That second set, which we call the modified accrual, is really what you're more interested in. The first set is really meant more for public, or for underwriters and underwriting debt, etc. But the day-to-day management is more the second set of financial statements. So I'll try to at least focus more on those financial statements than the overall financial statements. And then lastly, the notes of the financial statements are obviously go on for pages and pages and give a lot of great detail to the items on the balance sheet and the income statement. But I just wanted to go down some of those keys. I had mentioned the 2 bases of accounting. Well, the first thing to mention is you can see the differences between the 2 bases of accounting. In one, we have a $15 million fund balance, if you will, and the other, we have a $29 million deficit in fund balance. So there's a great difference between the 2 bases of accounting. And those are reconciled in the financial statement, should you want to see what those various things are. As I said, they're basically the long-term and long-term and assets and long-term liabilities. The B key is going over the full government-wide financial statements, and you can see there's some wild swings in pension deferred outflow, deferred inflows, and post-retirement benefits. These are all things that are actuarially driven. And what the actuaries try to do is use these deferred inflows and outflows to record differences so they can smooth the cost over a period of time. This is something that's very confusing for accountants, so I can imagine it's even more so confusing to our board. But as I mentioned, we're really more concerned with the governmental funds on this board level. C is there's a new item here called right of use asset. There's a new GASB 87, it's called on leases, that requires the district to record its operating leases, which it not had to do in the past. And we have two types of operating leases. We have an operating lease where we receive money from Questar for our classrooms, and we also have an operating lease for the bus terminal rental. So those two things. But Mike was just saying that he's been in a bunch of presentations, and that's gone on and on and on. Here it's immaterial. We did it because it's required, but as you can see, it's only the net of the two is like $300,000. So, and it has no effect on the operations of. It only has effect on the balance sheet. As you can see, one of the big positives in the financial statements, I'm on D now, is there's an increase in cash of about $2.6 million, which is obviously a great thing. It's primarily the result of our net income. As you can see, we had about a $2.2 million net income in the various fund statements. Obviously, again, a very good thing in the year. And when you compare that to last year, where we had a $1.1 billion increase, that obviously is a good trend. Note E goes over our fund balance and the various types of fund balance. We have a $15 million at the end of the year, but it tells us where those are. As you can see, a great portion of it is restricted for debt service. Much of that in RC, whatever the initials are, the nonprofit corporation that basically owns the building. But we also have a debt service fund that we've accumulated some funds in to be able to pay down debt as it comes due. As I said, the strength there is twofold, really. First of all, as you can see, our overall net income, or not net income, our net assets, or our equity went up from $12.8 million to 15, which obviously is a good thing. But the other thing is our unassigned fund balance went up significantly. It is at $1 million. It's still lesser than the 4% requirement of the state, but it's pretty much right at that level. So when we look at Code F there, it's basically talking about our increase in state aid, which is $1.2 million, which is an 8.2% increase, which I'm sure Joe has been touting, and I know Joe has been saying we need that for years, and that's obviously coming to fruition in the last couple of years. Note G goes over our increase in our real estate taxes. It's a 10.8% increase, which looks a little alarming if you're a taxpayer, but much of that is not related to taxes. It's related to the pilot with Empire Generating, which is really a terrific thing. As you recall, 2 years ago, we were unsure if we'd even lose that at all. And now that's really stabilized, and in this past year been significantly higher than it was in the past year. And we do have a pretty good idea of what it will be going forward. It actually has some potential for upside in the new formula they've made. So, one of the things you can see is that revenues went up about $4 million. And a good portion of that, not only what I talked about in the state aid and also the real estate tax area, but was really federal assistance. Federal assistance in different grants went up $2.1 million. Now, we all know much of that is related to COVID, and that's going to disappear, but while it's here, we're taking advantage of it, obviously, and utilizing those funds. The point I wanted to make on J was, we've had consecutive years, as I mentioned, of increases in net income and really increases in revenue. And I think, it addressed the problem that Joe talked about a number of years ago, that it's not an expense problem, it's a revenue problem. To some extent, or to a good extent, we've addressed that. Obviously, in both state aid and real estate taxes, we've seen significant increases. So that's part of the reason we're here today, and part of the reason why we're in good shape, as opposed to the shape we were 2 years ago, where we were talking about a going concern and whether this district would be able to continue. The other thing is the cash on hand. Most experts agree that having 2 months of cash on hand would be a good thing. As you can see, we now have 64 days of cash on hand. It's the first time since I've been involved in the district that we've had that available cash to really where it should be. So that's looking good. We did also audit the extra classroom activities, had no findings there. We audited a single audit, which is because of the federal assistance being over $750,000, we have to select certain grants every year to audit. We had no findings there. We did have last year's finding, as you recall, was the old real estate taxes. We've kind of believe we've beaten that to death and taken that off the table. We've said we've done everything we can do to address that. We have plans in motion, obviously, working with the state to have them audit the city and actually eventually recoup that. But we've kind of said that's where we're going to stop. We really can't afford to go and get a lawsuit or whatever. The costs would outweigh any benefits that we perceive rather. And I speak for Joe and management when I say that. So that finding is no longer a finding, and we had no current year findings. We do have certain requirements that we communicate into governance. One is new accounting policies. I talked about GASB 87 and the leases that we're now required to record, and we do record estimates. There are significant estimates, as I mentioned, with the pension and the OPEB, because they're both obviously we need actuaries in both those cases, and there's a bunch of assumptions actuaries make. So those are the only real estimates that have any significant effect on these financial statements. Sensitive disclosures, I would say, Empire Generating is a positive one where it's been a negative one in the past in that it's more stabilized now. And obviously COVID-19 can be considered a sensitive disclosure because we really don't know where that's going. Audit adjustments, we did make, I think, 4 adjustments. 2 of them were, I don't know if I'd say, one of them was material, one of them was to record deferred taxes. And what happens now, we switched with the city, where the city used to make good by the time our audit was done with what they owe us. Now they have up to 2 years to pay us, and so that we do have some deferred revenue of what they owe us at the end of the year. And we did have to make an adjustment for that, and obviously we've made Meg aware of that so she can make that provision in the future. And the other major adjustment we made was to the debt service fund, which we always recommend a transfer to management, basically to make sure we fit within the 4% limit that the state requires and not go over our own policy for the debt service, which is basically an attempt to raise at least 1 year's debt service to keep it in that fund at all times. We had no disagreements with management. I did tonight receive the representation letter signed by Meg, and we had no other issues. I would say that these financial statements that you have are in draft. They haven't been finalized yet because we did have some of these issues. The GASB 87 issue took a little longer, but we're at the point now where the finals can be generated after tonight's meeting and after the board approves it. So that was the Chris Berman, or a 2-minute.
Fastest 2 minutes.
Yes, fastest 2 minutes in accounting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, just for summary purposes, so everybody understands, I just want to ask some really basic questions so everybody gets it. We've been in financial turmoil, and you said it, I just wanted you to repeat it. Our problem was a revenue deficit. Would you say that that particular issue that we had is now resolved?
It is, unless expenses go up, Joe.
Unforeseen,
Yeah.
right, unforeseen.
And Meg and I were just talking about that, there's gonna be pressures for salaries and.
Qualified by the same statement in that without some unforeseen issues, would you also say we probably will have the ability to now go forth with the normal incremented tax levy increases rather than the escalated ones that we've had to do to try to right the ship?
I would hope so, yes.
Okay, I
I
just
mean,
wanted to
when you-
make sure
when
we
you
have
talk
some
about bottom
taxpayers
line-
out there, and we may have some that are watching the video, and I just wanted that to be
Yeah.
loud and clear that our trajectory at this point should be no more of those large things that we had to deal with. We should be back on track for normalcy as far as those things go.
I would think so.
That's
But
good.
just to say bottom line, I think the bottom line is at the page of one, equity's up 7.2%, available cash is up 21 days, all's good.
I just wanted to say that really loud so that anybody that watches the video or was here, heard what you said, because you said a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question related to the $430,000 that we're owed by the city. I understand that it's not worth our dollars to pursue that as a lawsuit as a school district, but that's been referred to the state comptroller's office and they could recoup that money on our behalf.
I'm actually working with them currently to try to provide as much additional information as I can. Because the city and the county claim that they cannot find the information, so the onus is once again on the district to ascertain all of the information that they need and then give it to them and regurgitate it again.
Give it to them being
Do we
the
have
city
that?
or give it to the
Andy?
state
Yeah,
controller?
With the
remember,
office of the state comptroller.
all of this occurred before Meg started, so
Well,
she's at, you know,
yeah,
At the mercy
Documentation
of the
is-
records of my
yes,
predecessor,
yes.
which we all know are not excellent.
yeah.
But they're probably better than the records that they're claiming they're missing on the other side of the
They
conversation.
have 0 records apparently.
yeah.
Well, and that's a whole different mess that, you know, a large majority of the people currently at the city had nothing to do with either. So we have people, lots of people in positions that are trying to deal with past problems.
Yep, yeah.
I'm just happy you're on our side.
Well, and the good news is that, you know, we've allowed for this stuff, so this has no, if we get anything, it's found money.
Yeah,
We've provided that, you know, we don't expect to get anything, at
It's
least,
been so.
you know, currently. So,
Well, what worries me is.
I have been here for 6 years. It's been 6 years.
Still
That I haven't.
And that went back
Six
Well,
5 years.
unfortunately, I think the
And it's
city
4
didn't
years
have
before that I had
audits
to
on,
reconcile all of
the
that.
previous administration of the city didn't have audits happening in the city, which was supposed to happen every single year. So they're
But
currently in a
supposed to maintain
situation,
records.
and listen, I wasn't, there's no.
Audit or no audit, they
There's
should
no
have
doubt
records.
about that, but in terms of getting the money, they're trying to set the ship as well. That's my understanding. So, you know, maybe
Well,
that
that's why
will,
we're pinning our hopes on the state, you know, because the state's an independent body. So hopefully they can go in and see what's there, reconcile, you know, and come up with something.
We can
I'm hoping they don't just say there's no records, we throw our hands up, you know, so.
yeah, I hope so too.
I worked in business office 10 years ago, and I remember the treasurer going down to the city and trying to teach them how the tax.
And you know, with a budget our size, people say $430. We can't go through a rabbit hole, right? We can't spend money to get that money. But I think about all these grants we have that are not.
$430,000.
Yeah, 430,000. I think about all the grants we have that are not sustainable, right? Like that could, actually, that money could sustain, you know, our SEL, our social workers, our prevention educators, all these people for several more years to protect our children. So when you look at it, you know, if we could get some of it.
It's a good point, because to what Ken was saying before, is that we are gonna reach a fiscal cliff.
Yeah, because we don't,
when
this is
funding
great,
for
all these,
stimulus
yeah.
falls off.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ken.
very
Really
much.
appreciate it.
Right. So our internal claims auditor is Mike, so he's gonna give us a rundown on his internal claims.
Okay, I think everybody's heard my spiel usually. I talk about the roles and responsibility of the claims auditor. As you know, I work for you, and I'm doing the job of the board by having to review all the expenses before the treasurer is allowed to send out the check.
Sorry.
Just to give you some background, every 2 weeks I come in, all the expenses are prepared. I review them to make sure that the terms are basically reasonable, necessary for an educational purpose. As long as everything is in there, I look to see that you're in compliance with the purchasing policies of both general municipal law as well as your own board policies. You know, the usual, looking to see that there were bids, we're buying off a state contract and everything was purchased within economical needs. Once I look through everything and sign off on everything, the treasurer's approved to give write the checks out, and they get sent on their way. One of the other things that Megan has us do here is the review of payroll, which is also considered a best practice. And then the final item to wrap everything is up, I look at the bank rec. And by looking at the bank rec, it tells me that I look at everything prior. If there was something on the bank rec that I didn't see, it would be a red flag. On the memo I sent covering the last few years, summarizing everything, you can see in 21-22, the number of warrants was 56. The transactions were up, about 300 transactions for the year. It's probably mostly because we're coming out of COVID, there's more transactions. And the amount of expenditures was up 5.8. And that again is coupled with two things. One, more transactions, but also in 21-22, we were already starting to see the pressure from inflation. Some of the expenses that are going, everyone's electric bill and heating bill by now is going up, I'm sure. The school's gonna be running into that too. That's where most of those numbers come from. As you can see, 5 exceptions, basically 1/4 of 1%. This is, I finally, in my thing, I put, it's one of my best clients. I did the calculations on my other clients. This is the best client as far as number of exceptions. So that's, to have 5 errors out of 2,251, that's pretty impressive. Most of those errors are usually outside the business office where somebody goes and buys something.
Purchase orders.
And then comes and asks for a purchase order.
Yeah. I've done it.
Any questions for Mike?
My information's on the bottom of this report. If you ever have any questions or something you see in one of my reports after the meeting, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Buffalo's still not a good team.
I could use you for my checking account.
Great.
Anyway.
The only New York team left.
Standings would say different.
Sunday's game would say different,
Yes.
what they did to my Steelers.
Take
It's a
care.
numbers guy.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll stay en route with our numbers and we'll let Megan give her report at this point.
Yes, just a quick 2 updates. You guys have a resolution on your agenda tonight for a transfer request coming from me, and that is directly related to the career and technical education expenditures that I addressed last month, if you recall, to cover the significant increase in costs associated with that, and also including our continually increasing transportation costs
We wasn't
associated
happy
with
to
the
see that.
contract. Our boiler plant replacement project is in full swing. We hope to have that completed by next week. They have been here for the past few weeks installing and fabricating and welding and getting everything set up. We have 3 of the 4 boilers currently in place. They will be set up tomorrow to actually run, and then once all 3 are in place, we can move the temporary boiler and put in the final 4th boiler. Hopefully by next week, we will be all set with that, yes, and all of our maintenance staff will be trained
On how to use the new
to
boiler.
Knox on how to use and maintain the condensing boilers.
I think it's good timing with increased costs. Hopefully we have some more efficient boilers running to keep it as.
Yes, and we had, the business office had a significant push along with Teresa Stasak, the property manager, to make sure that this went through before this heating season.
Right.
And I think it was a positive for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And that included Judy, so thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Megan?
Thank you.
I just want to point out the boiler project was pushed through with a lot of effort from Megan in the timing that we could use the federal money rather than go out to our public and ask again after the last few years for something else. The ability to use the federal money made this a doable project, and it was a lot of extra work. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Megan. You know way too much about boilers, Megan, but good for you. All right,
Your
Terry,
next career, right?
how is our cafeteria doing and our food
Doing
service?
good. Thank you for approving the ice cream bid, because the kids have been waiting since COVID to get ice cream in. So I'll be ordering that soon. We had summer meals here in the building and at 3 Questar locations that we delivered to over the summer. And that went well. And as with other departments in the building, we struggled through September with a lot of staff shortages. And so I'm happy to say we actually had a full staff the last 2 days. That's how tight it's been. We also, the fresh fruit and vegetable program, last year we used all but $3,040 of the $45,850 available for us. We again have the same amount because of the way they did the calculations. They went back to that same year that was based on, except this year it's only available to pre-K through 5 because 6th grade moved to middle school. So,
Okay.
So we also began our after-school snack program. So there's a couple clubs and activities, so they've started and we're working on that. budget status for last year, we're definitely in the black. So last year, we received $43,114 for the federal emergency operations costs for a loss of reimbursement between March 20 and June 20. I told you about this in the beginning that I was applying for it. Well, we finally got it last year, the $43,000. We also received $26,498 for the supply chain assistance for domestic food purchases. So I had to track all my canned foods and things for that, so we got that. And we also even paid $77,000 for indirect costs to the district. And we're still in the black.
Thank you, Carrie.
Oh, also, and this week is National School Lunch Week. And the theme is, school lunch is far out groovy.
Good for you getting into the theme, Terry. Good.
That's it.
I know we were
Thank you.
tracking
Great
numbers
work.
of how many kids are taking breakfast and lunch. Is that increased?
From pre-COVID, it's
what I
almost
mean.
up to, breakfast is around the 500, the breakfast is about normal now.
Okay.
Lunch is still lagging a little from pre-COVID. We're getting in the 700 ranges. We used to be, before COVID, we were steady 800, sometimes into the 9. We even broke 1,000 one day. So, we're still only in the mid 7s.
Okay.
So, but we get more for the reimbursement, but we're still not reaching as many kids as we did before. It's still available, we're still CEP. So it's still no cost to them. I make sure we keep good on that, so we don't have to worry about that. So it's just a matter of getting them in, and now that we're back in the cafeteria again,
Yeah.
it's nice. Not having to transport it all over creation.
All right, thank you, Terry.
So Amy is gonna
Okay.
channel Jeff. for the-
All right, so Amy, go ahead.
I'm gonna be Jeff today. He left me very lengthy,
Of course he did.
This is me and Jeff switched roles today in terms of the brevity piece. I'm just gonna read through his report. He first wanted to talk about open house that we had on September 22nd. It was a great opportunity to have an in-person event, first time since 2019 that we had an in-person open house. Had a number of community organizations there tabling, and the attendance was great and the turnout from parents was really great to see. October 3rd and 7th, we had our Scholastic Book Fair. Mrs. Plum and parent volunteers organized that and helped out, so we wanted to say a thank you to them. Also, the elementary school had their first set of character education assemblies for the first time since 2020. The focus was on introducing the trait of caring. In addition, we recognized our star students, PACS leaders, and one class at each grade level with the highest attendance percentage. On October 7th, we had our traditional ice cream celebration for students that completed their summer reading assignments. Thank you to Stewart's for their donation and Mrs. Plum for organizing the event. October 17th through 21st, we'll be joining the junior senior high school for Spirit Week, and that information has already been sent out. At the end of the month, we'll be having our PTA sponsored trunk or treat event on the 27th from 6 to 7:30. For Halloween, students will be allowed to bring in costumes to wear during Halloween fall activities. We'll have a parade for the pre-K students at 1:30. They'll go around the track being led by Mr. Hosley and a number of his band members with all of our other students, faculty, and staff members cheering them on. The faculty focus, teachers have been analyzing data from the ELA and math assessments along with iReady data and other classroom assessments and utilizing those reports to support their students and drive their instruction. So noted that on September 30th, teachers and some elementary aides took part in training on the PACS program presented by Chris Johnson, Desan Cooley, Amber Smith, and Heather Stasak from PPS. It was a great review of the program and provided ample opportunities for collaboration and reflection. Following the training, teachers then had the opportunity to meet in teams to plan and also had a chance to receive virtual support with implementing really great reading.
Thank you, Jeff.
You look really nice today.
Yours, Amy.
All right,
Yes.
I was very brief on mine. I was gonna just say as a general overview of the start of the school year and getting rolling with a lot of the initiatives that I've already talked about. We're seeing some good traction. We, I think, have kind of gotten through some of the early hiccups with some, getting everybody in the right places. As I said, my department had a lot of changes, but I think we're starting to really get some good momentum. And I wanted to mention the September 30th Superintendent's Conference half day as well, because we had an opportunity to give our staff, particularly in the special ed department, some more time to do that planning around their professional learning communities that we had set up for them this year. We did more training for really great reading, and I'm actually doing some data analysis tomorrow with some of the reading teachers, because we finally have some of the assessments done for taking some of our next steps with the really great reading program for some of the students with more significant needs. But gen ed wise, it's been rolling along, so we're really excited about that. We also had some training from Mediation Matters, who we are partnering with this year as part of our SEL grant. Chris Johnson and Rob Hillerman are heading that up. And so we actually have our dates now for our student group to be trained as mediators. So you'll be hearing more to come on that, and we're really excited about that getting off the ground in terms of that collaboration. We also, actually, Chris Johnson and Dasan Cooley are at a conference right now in San Antonio for social emotional learning, and hopefully we'll bring back some great stuff from that. Look out for the October newsletter. We'll be sending those out monthly again with some information for parents and community around supporting the social emotional needs of students. And one other thing I didn't have on my agenda but wanted to highlight is that part of the AWARE grant this year was to fund a satellite office for a START Center clinician to work within the district 1 day a week and see students. And what's really exciting about that opportunity is that the wait lists for students to receive therapy in a lot of our outside agencies has been extensive. It's been hard to get kids in, and this person is coming in with a totally clean caseload. So any students that we refer will immediately have access to some of those therapeutic interventions. So that's really exciting. She'll be starting in 1 day a week. So those are my updates.
Are parents required to, or are parents engaged in terms of the school says, hey, we think, or the student says, I'd like to have some therapy? Is the parent, I guess, required to sign off on that? Are they engaged in that?
For a student to access the service in the satellite office?
Yes.
Yeah, parent permission is absolutely
Okay.
something that we have to require. All I'm saying is that we're jumping through hoops in terms of going to an outside agency. We're working off of their wait list. So even if parents want their students to get, or their child to get help there, 3 months plus. So now we have an opportunity to say, hey, parent, would you like your child to receive therapy here? And they can start.
Right. So, okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Dom, we can bring it in the end here.
Bringing it in. So, same thing, we had our open house last Thursday. Again, nice to have it back in person. We got parents and guardians got to come in and meet teachers. We did have a couple of conflicts with sports days where we had a couple teams that were out that night, but very well attended for us starting to back up, and we're happy to get that back up and going. Next week we have Spirit Week. I know Mr. Palmer mentioned it too, so we included the elementary with that. We'll have dress-up days all next week. We have some of our community volunteers that are together a Pop Warner / Junior Senior High School football cheerleading kind of parade through. We'll do some announcements up here. That will be Thursday night next week. Friday we will have pep rally at the school for 8th period where we introduce all the teams. And Friday night's homecoming football game, senior night. And then Saturday night here in the North Gym we will have homecoming dance, which is nice for the students, nice to get them
Yeah.
back in here, and, a long time coming. So, some exciting stuff going on, especially in the next week.
See you later.
Our Halloween dance this year, we're looking forward to it. Once again, Mr. Higgs and his crew doing a great job. We had a fantastic time at the last dance. That's gonna be on October 28th. Our 4 plays, the 17th, November 17th and 19th. It's gonna be the acting debut of Mr. Martinelli and Mr. Pitt. They both have parts, and I believe Mr. Kardash has a part too. And if you don't know, then you just found out. I believe yours is on Saturday.
What day? Let me
What
write
day?
this down.
I think I am Thursday, Pitt is Friday, and you're Saturday.
I knew we had to draw straws.
I didn't know that I had a.
It's a brief part, it's 2
It takes me a long time to memorize lines. You're gonna have to.
Just get there early for costume.
It's like a 9-minute monologue.
They don't have my size.
And our seniors did a great job with their presentation.
Yes.
They
And we're
did.
very proud of them, great.
Yeah, that was great.
They're excellent presenters. They're really good. Yeah, great.
You did a good job.
Yeah, so they presented, they did a couple different ones. They presented to Bob and I for the senior bathroom, so we kind of step them up through it. Listen, senior bathroom, present to us, we'll approve it based on how good it is, but for the senior lounge, you have to come and present to us, we'll hear it, but then you gotta present to the board.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah, that's
Okay, Dom, you can give it to my husband to get me my own bathroom?
of- Yes.
You're gonna have to present to the
You're
board.
I would like to see that
Good
presentation.
for them. Listen, put that energy somewhere good and they advocated, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Good for them. I was really happy to see CYO at the open houses that, we haven't had it in 2.5, 3 years. I don't even know, so
I
I'm
gotta
so
say, a
excited.
lot of people coming in asking, where is CYO basketball?
Yeah, yeah. And tomorrow night too, they're doing signups here, so I think this is great. The kids are coming out, really wanna do
Yeah.
That
it.
is awesome. It just cost me about $230 in sneakers.
Yeah, that's good stuff though. And here's the thing, it's, everybody will tell you, those feeder programs are what's important to our programs in the high school, middle school and high school. If we don't have the feeder programs, the kids don't get introduced to it, they don't have that positive, experience, and then they're not playing it.
Well, it's like what you're seeing right now in football.
Yeah.
That short gap we had, there's not a lot of kids that played now, the kids that are coming through.
Yep, and you could see it happen in modified, because it happened in modified, they didn't have enough kids, they were struggling to get the 16 they needed to play.
You can keep reminding me of that. No, I'm great. I'm happy to see the kids coming out.
Definitely.
Have a chance. Do you have anything, Joe?
I do. We have another half-staff day coming up on February 28th.
You mean October?
October.
So that's an awful lot of noise.
Wow, was it February?
October 28th. I think I associated the number of days in a month and just threw February. October 28th, and then the following week, the following Friday, we have our go home early drill on our calendar. I've met with our police and firemen, and we had a meeting with the administrators today. We're going to try to step that drill up, because traditionally it's been a little bit hollow. Where we
Doesn't
just
feel like
go
a drill,
home
right?
15 minutes
Yeah.
early. We're gonna do a coordinated effort with them. We have a high-level plan. We're gonna get the details together, communicate it out to the community so everybody knows what we're doing. And there will still be confusion, but we're gonna essentially get the kids out of the building as if we're actually evacuating the building, not just we're gonna leave 15 minutes early and 45-minute shifts. And then we're gonna work on our reassembling and then transporting home, with a goal of taking the kids home at the same time as they normally would get home, but having done a real drill, or around the same time. That way it won't inconvenience the community any more than necessary, but we're gonna learn some valuable lessons in coordinating with the police and the fire department. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know that we'll run into stuff, but everything that goes wrong will be a learning experience. So
To run into it when there's not an emergency.
Yeah, so I think we need to take better advantage of that drill. That's one of the goals we're working on.
Thank you. All right, invitations to visitors to address the Board of Education. Anyone? Sure, Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Ellis with the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition. I came on behalf of the coalition this evening to address some concerns we have with public participation here in the school district. As you guys are all aware, the PTA is putting on a trunk or treat event on the 27th, I believe it is. The Rensselaer Environmental Coalition sent an email to the PTA on September 25th requesting that we participate in the event because we would like to give back to the children in the community. And that's really what the event is about, giving back to the children in the community through public participation. Well, apparently the PTA decided to pick and choose which groups they feel are welcome to attend and which groups are not. And they are relying on previous activities from years back that really had nothing to do with Rensselaer Environmental Coalition before the coalition actually became a coalition. There was different board members at the time, and it was really just an open public meeting where one person that was in attendance from the community called the PTA dormant because they felt that the group was not doing enough to protect the children when it comes to the dump landfill. My concern is that the PTA is preventing adequate public participation in the event by picking and choosing which groups they would like to participate and saying that this board has no oversight in their activities. I don't agree with that because this board oversees the entire school district, and any groups that are part of this school district or operate within the school district should have some oversight by the Board of Education. And I think it's extremely inappropriate that they're taking these actions that a lot of people are calling political and unfair. And I think we have every right as taxpaying residents and school taxpayers to be able to participate in an event open to the public. So I think it's extremely unfortunate that they're making statements saying that people aren't welcome. And I also wanted to let you guys know that when I questioned them about not responding to my email, they kept claiming they never received it, and then I was told that it went to their spam folder, but Rensselaer Environmental Coalition was still not welcome. So I had messaged them on their page, on their Facebook, because nobody was responding to my email. And I was starting to be harassed by actually ladies that are school teachers here at the district. There was two people, one goes by the name of Kristen Marie on Facebook, the other goes by Reed Fisher. They were saying that I was a crybaby, that I was whining. One of their husbands went on there saying that, I can't even remember, anyways, called me a clown. And I just think it's extremely inappropriate. The district should really look into this treatment of members of the community and really do something about this. This is a public school district. The parking lot is open to the public, and anybody that wants to park in the parking lot can certainly do to. I think it's absolutely ridiculous and political, and there needs to be some kind of action looked into this.
So Dave, the PTA is an independent operating organization. We approve them as being associated with the school, but we do not choose their officers and we do not have any stipends toward them. We have some limited control over that. However, you bringing up digital citizenship, and if our professionals are doing something inappropriate online, I'd like to set up a meeting with you. If you could bring in any evidence of that, I'll discuss that with you because that is our prerogative. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dave, this is the first time that the board is hearing this, I would assume.
I spoke to Judy about it. She already knew about it. The same was told with another community organization. They were told that there was no room for them. Somebody spoke to Superintendent Kardashian. Now that group is being allowed to participate.
They are?
Yes, they are. They received confirmation today that they are allowed to participate.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to speak with them yet.
Okay, well, somebody did something evidently.
Fantastic.
It's always
That's
been my understanding that the PTA actually has its own association and board, and they have to run under their own rules. So like Joe just explained is correct.
Right, but
this does concern, what you're telling us will obviously.
My concern is
to have a
it's an
conversation.
event to benefit the children in the community. Just because certain members of the PTA may not like REC, or maybe they don't like me because of my political affiliation, doesn't make it right for them to deny adequate public participation. I understand they're the sponsor of the event, but it's an event to benefit the public, and it's not right to tell somebody they don't have the right to participate at the school district on the school's property.
Again, Dave, the digital citizenship portion of that with the professionals in our school is something I'd like to review with you. If we can set up a time to sit down and go over that, that's important. What I would say is the PTA is a separate operating organization. If the REC came in and did a building use request, we come and facilitate what you're gonna do, but we don't come and dictate who you invite and who you don't invite to the whatever event you're having when you use the building use request. Does that make sense?
This is an outside community event, that, I mean, it looks so silly to say, oh, we're sorry, we don't like you, you can't participate, you know what I mean? And it's a public parking lot, if somebody shows up to the event and parks in a section of the parking lot, the event's not going on, they have every right to do that because they're on school property as a tax-paying resident, as long as they're doing nothing illegal. What is somebody gonna do, tell them, oh, I'm sorry, you can't be here?
I'm not sure. What I would like to do is address the digital citizen.
Okay,
board
thank
for
you.
that. So if we can set up a meeting, I'd like to
And
go
also,
over that.
I wanted to let you know, Joe, if anybody's here that's going to sit here and make comments, I don't wanna hear that and I won't appreciate it and I hope you cut it off. Thank you.
I just want to add that it is not a public event, it is an event for our elementary students.
So do we have, we don't, so that's basically a similar like facility use. The PTA doesn't have to put in a facility use request.
They did,
do they?
yeah.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's completely per their discretion, you know, for the event.
Any organization, they put in a facility
Yep.
use,
I
they
just-
request
I'm-
what the
I'm
use
just
is
getting
for
asking
and
to
what portion of
clarify.
the property they're gonna use it for. They requested tables to be outside and
Right.
power if they're, so those are pieces that they went through as a formal request process and approval.
Right.
But just like anyone else who then rents the building, we don't come and dictate exactly what you're
How that-
doing.
right.
It's your event, you've rented the building under these parameters.
The concern, Joe, is if any other community group is allowed to participate, they shouldn't pick and choose which groups just because they have hard feelings. That is really, really silly and unfortunate.
But what I'll tell you though, Dave, is that discussion, the right forum for that discussion is the PTA meeting and
And
not
I
the
will
board
not
meeting.
attend their meetings because they are very disrespectful to me. And, you know, I've done stuff for the PTA before. I volunteered a couple of years ago at the Colorathon with my niece to hand out fruits and vegetables. All the other participants got t-shirts. I was not provided a shirt. I asked several people. They said they had no clue. Then they claimed I never put in for one. It's just been a whole hassle for years because I'm on the other political line and it's unfortunate that politics are here in the school. So
I do want to set up a meeting and explore the other thing that you brought up, Dave, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'd just like to say, I'd like, Ernie Gambros, I'd like to thank the board for changing their meetings to the second Wednesday so it doesn't conflict with the city common council meetings.
You're welcome.
It's good to see you, Ernie.
Yeah,
I
that was
almost
easy.
forgot, having you all messed up.
You're welcome.
I'm so used to the
Thank you
schedule,
for
and I was like,
coming.
oh no, it's tomorrow.
Thank you.
Glad we could help.
Yeah.
I never know what it is anyways, I have to call Jen.
On the calendar.
No, it's the second Wednesday.
All right, so under new business, I'm gonna,
We omitted one of the motions. Can we let Shaylin talk for just a second?
yes.
I would like to add an additional motion, so H, to approve the financial statements that Mr. Claflin came in to present.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I would propose a motion is needed to accept and file the independent audit of the financial statements of the school district for the 21-22 school year submitted by Cusack and Company CPAs LLC.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Well, just adding that to the agenda.
You're gonna add it?
I'd
Oh,
like
do we
to
have
add
to
that as-
motion to
as
add it?
H.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Motion to add, okay, so that was Jim and Lark, and
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
thank you for letting me add that.
No, you're fine, thank you. If nobody has anything under new business, A through H now, we will motion to move the remainder of that part of the agenda. Mark? Jim, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Superintendent recommendations, if nobody has questions on, A all the way through D, I'd like to move that. Before I do that, I do want to say that I see that we do have a teacher, Michelle Belvedere, that after 10 years of being with us is moving on to something I don't know where. So I just wanted to say to her, thank you for her commitment the past 10 years to the district. Her energy will be missed, and I wish her the best on her future endeavors. So thank you, Michelle. So if we can remove the remainder of the balance, A through D, can I have a motion? Mark and Jim, all in favor? Aye. No announcements, we don't need an executive session. So I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting. It is 7:28, right? I need glasses, Lark and Jim, all in favor? Aye.
I don't
Thank you.
actually think I put my hand down.
Nice job.